is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
It is 4 minutes after 11. We have, of course, the question of Mystery Hour coming up at 12 noon today. Looking forward to that. Before that, I'm going to try and get to the bottom of what's going on. It's even arguably worse than I just described it. Jason Farrell's listening at the moment, the political correspondent over at Sky News, just tweeted me to say, I made your point in lobby yesterday, and the PM spokesman, former political editor of the Daily Mail, suggested that the backstop time limit would come with agreement for what follows. See? However, as Jason points out, you can imagine that this led to lots of questions, but obviously if they had agreement on what would follow, there wouldn't be a need for a backstop. I mean, it is... Oh, dear. A lot of you are sending me that Peter, what's-his-name, clip from that film, you know, the news film. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Oh, dearie me. There have been moments over the last few months where I've kind of wondered whether I've got it all horribly wrong. Because you have to acknowledge the existence, and you know, there are one or two people here on LBC that I really like and respect who are still persuaded that this is going to be anything other than an absolute dog's dinner. There are also one or two who are now pretending on air that they still think it's going to be anything other than an absolute dog's dinner, but that's for them and their conscience. There are some who will still claim, generally, it's the people who were never that fussed about freedom of movement. And they're the ones that confuse me the most. Because without toxifying immigration, without having that despicable poster, without unleashing the sort of forces that led to the death of Joe Cox, they never would have got near the finish line. Not in a billion years would they have got near the finish line. So, albeit that lots of decent men and women who voted to leave the European Union have a completely Christian and sanguine approach to freedom of movement of people, you rode that tiger, guys. Yeah, you got on it. You got into bed with these despicable fag packet fascists. You knew what you were doing. That's why I find that a little bit hard, perhaps, to forgive. But you look at what's happening now, and you have an almost crystallised example of weapons-grade denialism. But I still, at 6 minutes after 11, float the possibility that I'm wrong, that maybe David Davis has got a plan. What do you think it might be? The plan that he can't tell us, and the plan that means, the absence of which means that we can't put a date on the backstop. Because if we had a plan, we wouldn't need the backstop. Except that the plan is something will come up. I don't know what it is, I don't know what it will look like, I don't know where it will come from, but I'm supremely confident that it will happen. And that, in a sentence, is where Brexiters are now. I don't know what it's going to be, I don't know what it's going to look like, I don't know where it's going to come from, but it's going to be great. When King Lear goes mad on the moor, that is pretty much what he says. He's talking about how he's going to get his revenge. I will do such things, he says. I don't know what they are, and I've actually gone a bit mad. But they will be, the line I always remember, they will be the terror of the earth. I will blow winds and crack your cataracts. I know not what I'm going to do, but my God, it's going to be mighty. And there's Brexit for you. I have absolutely no idea what it's going to look like, unless you're absolutely deluded, like Rees-Mogg, doff cap, tug forelock, vote Rees-Mogg, or you're completely craven to your own personal ambitions. Hi, Michael Gove. Hello, Boris Johnson. Or you're just now sticking your fingers in your ears, closing your eyes and going, no idea what it is, no idea what it's going to look like, no idea where it's going to come from, but my golly, it's going to be brilliant. Please ring me if I'm wrong. All right? Seriously. I'll pay you. Call it therapy. Start the clock. Oh, and speaking of clocks, hello to Carlos, the Brazilian cab driver with whom I took a selfie yesterday, and he now has me and Sheila Fogarty in his collection. I think he's going for the full set. Carlos, drive carefully. Ruth, in West Hampstead, you better interrupt me before I blow a gasket.
Well, you've just said that on record, James, that you're going to pay me if I can give the answer, so...
No, you pay me if I'm wrong. I'll pay you if you can prove me wrong.
Okay, I can't prove you wrong. About 8 months ago, James,
yes.
About 8 months ago, I phoned into the Clive Bull show.
Oh, yes.
And he was talking pretty much on the same subject.
Yes.
And he had Joanna Cherry, QC, who's an SNP MP. She's wonderful.
Yes.
And I said to her, I cannot see how we can fix this unless we stay in the single market and the customs union.
No.
So there is no other solution. So I wonder if David Davis didn't realise this when he took the job on, but I'm pretty certain he realises this now.
So what's he up to then?
I wonder if he and Theresa May are just waiting for a sea change to be able to sell the idea to the public.
What to sell what to the public?
The idea of staying in the single market and the customs union.
So
what else can they do? There is no solution.
Well, there is. We can do the Jacob Rees-Mogg thing and literally leap into a vat of boiling. Well, not literally, but metaphorically leap into a vat of boiling oil.
Well, we can't because we've told Northern Ireland, or we've told Ireland that we will have a solution, and we've told the EU that there'll be a solution to the border issue.
But we can't tell them what it is.
Well, exactly. So it has to be single market and customs union.
And that means David Davis has to resign, pretending that it's on principle.
Well, perhaps, but, I can't help feeling that what should have happened when Theresa May came out of 10 Downing Street and made her speech at the very beginning of her premiership, that she should have acknowledged how close the result was and gone with a softer Brexit. At that point, she may have been able to have sold it.
Do you want to play a game?
Sure.
Guess who said this in 2002? All right, ready? There is a proper role for referendums in constitutional change, but only if done properly. If it is not done properly, it can be a dangerous tool. The chairman of the Public Administration Committee, who is no longer in the chamber, said that Clement Attlee, who is, I think, one of the Deputy Prime Minister's heroes, famously described the referendum as the device of demagogues and dictators. We may not always go as far as he did, but what is certain is that pre-legislative referendums of the type the Deputy Prime Minister is proposing are the worst type of all. Referendums should be held when the electorate are in the best possible position to make a judgment. They should be held when people view all the arguments for and against, when those arguments have been rigorously tested. In short, referendums should be held when people know exactly what they are getting, so legislation should be debated by members of Parliament on the floor of the House and then put to the electorate for the voters to judge. Ruth in West Hampstead, your starter for 10. Who said that in 2002?
Probably David Davis.
Hallelujah! That's amazing. How did you do that? Your insights are spectacular.
Can we all tweet him with that, then?
Yeah, well, check out...
tweets.
I will. I'll just send it out. Michael Deacon spotted it, the Times sketch writer. So if you follow either him, Michael P. Deacon, or me at Mr. James O.B., you can find it on the Twitter account.
I think mass tweeting and a mass turnout...
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
On June 23rd. Well, we need to make some noise.
We do need to make some noise.
Everybody needs to make noise. Everybody needs to be there in June.
I'd also quite like to hear from people who think that Ruth is wrong. And that, of course, I am also wrong. I'm seeing claims that Nadine Dorries has just tweeted something about David Davis being in the SAS, but even by her remarkably low standards, I'm finding that rather difficult to believe. Peter is in Thirsk. Hello, Peter. What's going on?
I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you, James, because I actually think you're right, so I'm not going to be able to answer the question you wanted.
I'll put my wallet back in my pocket then, Peter.
But the thing is here, we've got an issue where people are seeking tactical solutions to what is a fundamentally strategic problem and exposes a flaw not only in the thinking of people who are trying to put this into place for us, but also in the European Union Treaty.
Go on.
I suspect the exit clause, which is now Article 50, was first put into the Coal, Iron and Steel Treaty after the war. And every time that treaty got bigger and grew...
I don't know if that's true, because we've had Lord Kerr. Lord Kerr wrote Article 50, and we've had him in the studio. So it must have been more...
Well, let me continue the comment, because
of course.
The bit in there is this.
Okay.
A 2-year period was never going to be sufficient. And I suspect it was put there to stop the horses of Europe being frightened, in the sense of if we lock ourselves in for longer than that.
No, I need to correct you here, because oddly I do know of which I speak. According to Lord Kerr, and I appreciate that people like Jacob Rees-Mogg and his forelock-tugging acolytes think that they understand Article 50 better than the bloke what wrote it. But according to Lord Kerr, Article 50 was actually designed to help the EU get rid of countries that went down a fascistic path. No one ever envisioned it being triggered by a country that was benefiting from membership but suddenly had a rush of blood to the head and tried to leave.
OK. It was a sacking clause rather than a...
Well, it never occurred to anybody involved that anybody would ever want to leave. Because... Well, now we know why, don't we?
and I think that was the point I was actually going to make. Nobody envisaged people leaving. So we're now faced with a situation, and you described taking the egg out of the baked cake.
Yeah.
I would say trying to get the stripes out of the toothpaste. And what we need to do is to, first of all, we've got to have a strategic understanding of what we want to look like when we're finally out, whenever that is. We've got to then put together an exit plan that actually describes, first of all, how we're going to stop putting more stripes in, and secondly, how we're going to sort out the ones that are in there now. One of the most fundamental being the border issues, Northern Ireland in particular, but Dover, Felixstowe, everywhere else, because we've got to trade.
Yes.
And unless and until those who are dealing with it at government level, both ministers and officials, actually start saying, what does the strategic end game look like and how long will it get there, and stop being frightened by the words 2022.
It's not just that. They're frightened by the knowledge that when they do actually have the plan in place, it will be impossible to pretend that it's not inferior to where we are now. This is, for me, the penny dropped for Dacre. Dacre's gone because he's not going to want to be around punting out front pages as the wheels fall off. And Davis, I think, overnight or in the last week, perhaps has finally realised that when if they came up with the plan that nobody knows, they need Baldrick in the cabinet. Actually, they need a cunning plan. That's what they need. But they haven't got a cunning plan. They haven't even got an uncunning plan.
Like Baldrick's.
No, this is very true. But they know now. They can't turn around and say this is what it's going to look like, because everyone else will go, oh, but that's worse than what we've got.
Exactly. And the trouble is, we are in the situation where we have 5-year fixed-term parliaments, and it is all about maintaining your position in government. And that is why so many strategic issues in the nation do not get addressed. Heathrow, the NHS, you can list them all. We don't address the long-term issues because of short-term, in a nation-state's perspective, political considerations.
Peter, thank you. My money is safe, although the offer still stands. What, £5? More? 10 quid? Hang on, I'm not made of money. My kids need shoes. We'll see. I might invest in a small postal order. Just tell me what I've got wrong today. 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. Alternatively, of course, if you're convinced that I'm wrong, but for reasons that currently elude you, you're not going to ring in, just give your forelock a tug. That apparently helps.
This is LBC. James O'Brien on LBC.
19 minutes after 11 is the time. What is David Davis up to? And I'm afraid that we are lurching towards the inexorable conclusion that the person least qualified to answer that question is David Davis. I don't think he's had a Scooby-Doo since day one. This is the really scary thing. I don't know if this happens in every generation, to everyone in their sort of mid-40s. I'm sure it didn't used to be like this. I used to look at politicians. My father introduced me to Dennis Healey. I did an A-level project about Michael Heseltine. I remember I've even met Margaret Thatcher, and they seemed to have vision. Whether you agreed with them or not, you knew what they stood for. David Davis. What has he been doing for the last 2 years? And how can he possibly be threatening to resign in protest at his own incompetence? If any of my analysis in the last 40 minutes has been wrong, I'm keeping 2 or 3 phone lines free on the switchboard for you to tell me why and where. Because all I can see now on the Brexit side of the argument, the people who still think it's a good idea, is faith, blind faith. There is a plan, there is a solution. It will be better than what we've currently got, but I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know who is going to deliver it, and I don't know when it's going to arrive. I don't think you really have the right to lead the rest of the country into that blind alley, do you? Do you really? If the will of the people was to poison the water supply, would the other half of the population have to go along with it? If the will of the people was, as a result of hypnosis or mass delusion, to turn off the electricity for a few years and see how we get on, would we all really have to go along with it? Would you still be putting your front pages there saying crush the saboteurs, crush the pro-electricity loonies? Or would you? And do you not even pause for a moment when you see the chief cheerleader of the entire country running for the hills like a scared peacock, the soon-to-be ex-editor of the Daily Mail? If this is going to be such a magnificent moment in British history, and if, as everyone agrees, the editor of the Daily Mail has done more to deliver it than any other human being on the planet, then why on earth would he not want to hang around to accept the plaudits and the applause and the gratitude of the nation? Thank you, Paul Dacre, for oh, what? He's gone? Oh, that's a bit odd. But it's going to be brilliant. yeah, it's going to be brilliant, but he's not going to be around to take the... What? At that moment, and that's why I'm not happy today. I said to you 1,000 times lately, I wish my predictions would start going wrong. I told you that they'd all try and quit. I told you they'd all slither away. I told you they'd all start pretending they never said the stuff that they said. And now you've got the editor of the Daily Mail walking the plank, just as Brexit reality begins to bite. I don't think I even went as far as to predict that, although I am gloriously unsurprised by it. Anyway, I'm getting my money out, OK? It's yours. You can tell me what I've got wrong today. I shall give you, in the words of that immortal political commentator, Leslie Dennis, I shall give you the money myself. Ken's in Brent Cross. Come on, Ken, take my money.
Good morning, James. Wonderful to talk to you again about this wonderful subject. No, I'm not going to take your money, unfortunately, because you probably remember my voice. I was probably one of your first...
From one of my Northern Irish contributors, but you need to sort your phone out, otherwise no one's going to recognise your voice. Take your balaclava helmet off. No, can't hear you. Mate, we'll try and sort the phone line out. I've got my dander up. I'm going to crack on. Tony's in Selby. Tony, how much money do you want?
How much money do I want?
Yeah.
I'm a Yorkshireman. I'll have as much money as you can spare.
Right,
Dave.
prove me wrong then.
No, unfortunately, I won't be able to take your money off you today because I'm not. I do apologise.
That's all right.
I'm not going to have an internet clip-worthy argument. Sadly.
Mate, if I never go viral again and we call a halt to this insanity, I will be a very, very happy man.
I'll have a drink with you on that one, I tell you. No, I have the misfortune. I'm not in Selby. I am in Howden and Halton Price. Do you know the MP for Howden and Halton Price is?
Is it a certain David Davis?
It certainly is, and I've had the splendid good fortune to have that gentleman as my MP for 15 years.
Yes.
I'd want to know what he's been doing for 15 years. So there you go. He is literally as much use as a chocolate teapot, in my opinion. No, but the thing I'm going to tell you is I did leaflet with him for Brexit.
You were out on the doorstep with David Davis, encouraging people to vote to leave the European Union.
I was putting leaflets through people's boxes, and my wife told me not to do it, and I should have listened, because they're always right, aren't they?
Yes.
And we just
famous last words.
We have these temporary insanities of independent thinking in marriage, which never work out for the best.
No, I'm going to go along with that. Actually, when did the penny? Forgive me, because there's a desire among people who are of the doff cap tug forelock brigade to pretend that I speak to people like you with anything other than respect and gratitude. So if I ask you when the penny dropped, I hope you don't think that that's a condescending
It isn't, my friend.
Okay.
No, it isn't at all.
Okay.
It dropped fairly quickly. It dropped when Theresa May appointed him into that job, because as much as I didn't like the European Union for a lot of years for a lot of very lefty reasons, because I'll put myself up as a bit of a lefty, I historically didn't like it. I was what you might call a reluctant Brexiteer.
Okay.
I did go out and campaign for it because I believe if you make a decision, you make a decision. I made a decision that was wrong. He told me, we were talking as we were walking around Howden Town Square on a particular Saturday morning when we were leafleting. I was talking about the fact that I didn't like the sort of racist agenda, the anti-immigrant agenda. That wasn't in my belief stream at all. I wasn't at all chewed about migrant labour. Agriculture around this part of the world has run on migrant labour for years. It ran on migrant labour in my granddad's day, And he said, well, there are things like a Norwegian-style model. And I said, I think the Norwegian-style model's a great idea. Those kind of principles, keeping the free trade, because the free trade part of it appeals to me. The austerity that was imposed on Greece didn't appeal to me. He talked to me about that as if it was something he was in favour of.
He certainly gave that impression, but overlooking the fact that Norway's in Schengen.
Yes. Yeah. But I would live with Schengen.
Well, of course you would, because you're not worried by free movement of people. I understand that, but what I don't understand is the way that these people, and I count some friends in this group, they managed to separate the toxification of the immigration debate from their visions of the future, as if they thought that they could get the Norway model and then turn around to all the kind of people who genuflected in front of that disgusting Breaking Point poster and just tell them, oh, by the way, we're keeping the same rules regarding our borders.
Yeah, I don't know how they quantify that. I mean, with it never being an issue for me in the first place, I don't really have I can't.
No, and we're back to the psychological rather than the political, aren't we? How anyone who thought we'll be like Norway or we'll be like Switzerland, I guess it could have just been ignorance. Maybe they didn't understand what that would mean about movement of people.
I think so, but I honestly think the sort of fag packet racists, as you refer to them,
fag packet fascists,
and the fag packet fascists.
Thank you. We like an alliteration on this programme.
We do like it, indeed. But if your parents had spent all that money on your education, it had been a waste.
You're not wrong, Tony. Just up the road, from where you are, mate, as well. I tell you.
Indeed, they make a damn fine beer up there, and yes.
What do you think of him then? Talk to me a little bit. Sorry, I've been badgering you. You're out leafleting. He said a Norwegian-style Brexit. You thought I could go along with that, and then events, dear boy, events, and then the reality started to unravel. What did it look like from where you were sitting?
I shouldn't have believed him in the first place because he's never impressed me as an MP. He doesn't even hold constituency surgeries. I mean, he just doesn't do anything. And when I questioned him about not running constituency surgeries, which I think are a basic of being an MP personally, but yes. I'm not a student of politics. I just think it's that you should. He said, well, with something like the 10th richest constituency in the country, if anybody's got a problem, they can email me. So a degree of contempt then for his constituents, you would say, or not? Let's just say disregard. Then disregard. A bit of disregard. They could put anybody up round here as long as it said Conservatives. There's loads of seats like that in the country. You know the score. They vote for the party, not the individual. Of course, and it's true of Labour as well in other parts of the country. But I guess what you and I will never be able to unravel, despite your personal hobnobbing with the fella, is how much of it is ignorance and how much of it is delusion, how much of it is simply a failure to understand. You just look at this. Just give me a minute, Tony. This is 25th of June 2017. We've got 50, nearly 60 sector analyses already done. I remember spluttering into the microphone last June. And then 7th of November 2017, same man, same subject. It is not the case that 58 sectoral impact assessments exist. Literally saying black is white and then saying black is black again. And, your alarm bells were ringing by now, but how come he's still in a job, Tony? I have absolutely no idea. I don't know how he even got one of the safe Tory seats in the first place. He must have pictures of the chairman of the 1922 committee in a compromising position with an Airedale or something. I really don't know. That rather unpleasant image, Tony, in Howden and Holton Price. Can we correct the records on that? I love the phrase Howden and Holton Price. It's got a touch of the... It's a great novel by Howard Spring called Fame is the Spur, featuring a character called Hawley Artingstall. Howden and Holton Price. 11:30 is the time. Simon Conway is here now with the headline.
James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
11:34 is the time. People that disagree with you, James, have given up trying to call the show as you don't let them on. You are a biased hate preacher and, I can't say that word, but I stir it, telling everyone that disagrees with you that they are stupid and racist. Don't be silly. I only call the stupid and racist people stupid and racist. And I suspect that the cap fits in this case. You are so far up your own, and again another word I can't say on the radio, it is unbelievable. I'm looking forward to Brexit, but I'm mostly looking forward to finding out that you have taken your last breath. Regards, the United Kingdom. P.S. Another word I can't say. Off to Europe if you love it that much. Can we ring him? Just get him on. Shall we wait? Is he there? Is it ringing out? It's gone straight to voicemail. Can we try again? What? Oh, come on, mate. Money where your mouth is. There's cash on the table today. Tell me what I've got wrong. Oh, shall I read out the whole phone number and then everyone else can try while we get on with the programme? Should we do that? OK. Take a note. 07... I'm only joking. Let's go back to Ken. Ken's in Brent Cross. Would you like to know what the Wall of Gammon is saying about you today, Ken?
Jane, you are one of the nastiest, nicest people I've enjoyed to talk to you
I'm
today.
disgusted. They are saying, you remember when your phone line went nuts a minute ago and I said, take your balaclava helmet off? Apparently that was a racist slur based upon the fact that although you're calling me from Brent Cross, you hail originally from Northern Ireland.
Yeah, so the claim is in the post.
Yeah, thank you very much. So God, I'm going to be skint by the end of today's show. What did you ring to talk to me about, Ken?
I came, James. You're a man who normally calls it fairly openly, and I was wondering why you're not talking about the elephant that is currently sitting in the very small room straight in front of you.
The DUP.
The DUP.
Yes.
My dear friend Snarlene kind of knows exactly where she's standing and exactly what she has, and this is. I mean, the DUP is the reason why Davis has been kicking the can down the road for the last year. I mean, the reality is, okay, she got £1 billion. Thank you very much. Of course, we love each other. Of course, I want to stand by you. But now, when she knows her future as a politician is in the can, if she in fact accepts anything that Davis has to say, so and I think what the Conservatives are concerned about is it's better for them to see through an absolute disaster right to the end than for it to fall apart in the next 6 minutes when Davis does say that the border does have to go back up. It all falls apart. And then Mr. Corbyn waltzes in and says, a bit like any other manager, oh my God, look at the mess that I found here. Follows it through. And that's 60 years in doldrums for the Conservatives.
Although yesterday's programme was dedicated in part to the question of what Jeremy Corbyn is playing at, because arguably on Tuesday he'd have a fair chance of inflicting some fatal damage on the government, but as things stand, he's electing not to. And listen, I don't know about you, Ken, but the massive majority of people who listen to this programme are as spooked by the prospect of a Corbyn premiership as they are by a Rees-Mogg or a Johnson one.
James, why does Corbyn need to bother about saying anything? They're digging holes big enough to fall in any day now.
This is don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a terrible mistake. But I can't. I don't take any comfort from that, because I don't think that he is. I don't think that it is just a case of sitting there and watching them tear themselves apart. I think he wants to leave the European Union. I don't think he was ever pro-Remain. I could be wrong.
I think I may not have mentioned this on this program, but I did another program. I met very soon after the referendum a load of people who would definitely be from the other side of the divide from an Irish point of view than me. And when I just read them the riot act, that in fact the DUP will be a dinosaur that will be fairly soon extinct or re-exported back to wherever would take that kind of racist tirade that the extremists would have. They couldn't believe what I was saying, and I said, "Listen, it's
where else can it go?
Where else can it go? The Northern Ireland Agreement made it quite clear that this cannot go anywhere." And I think Cameron was so sure that this was just put this all to bed and it was never going to happen. He was caught totally off guard by the result.
And they're really dragging the bottom of the barrel now. You've got this geezer Desmond Swain doing the rounds today, claiming that the government has to make the EU believe that we're going to walk away. They're still punting the line that the EU is somehow going to be scared into making concessions and compromises that undermine the integrity of the whole European Union if we keep threatening to punch ourselves even harder in the face. I mean, it's beyond rational analysis now. These people are absolutely nuts.
But they have, Davis has kicked the can as far down the alley as it's possible to go. There is a wall that is too high to kick the can over. So we're there. It's hit the buffers, and I think this is when Ms. Foster is going to decide, listen, I'm going to have to take down this government.
Yeah, well, and of course, as soon as she withdraws her support, as you quite rightly say, Ken, you pull the rug from the whole sorry shower of them. And I'd look forward to, I'm sure we can come to an out-of-court settlement for my appalling racist slur upon your terrorist sympathies, Ken, by referring to a balaclava helmet.
One last thing before I go.
Go on.
Just one last thing. I know you've got a very close friend in America, and all I can say, James, is it's going to be great. It is really going to be great.
So much winning.
It will be winning. It will be winning all the way. Just remember, it's going to be great.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't read the Financial Times report today on negotiations about open skies agreements. 20 minutes to 12. And actually, Ken makes a flippant point, but we must remember, those of us who are still in possession of our faculties, we must remember that it's supposed to be better than what we've currently got, right? Don't let them, as they will do, try to pretend that it somehow validates the decision to leave when things aren't as awful as they could conceivably have been. It's supposed to be better. If it's not better than what we've currently got, it's a mistake. So when you hear prominent Brexiters now speaking about surviving, we'll survive, or this country got through the bubonic plague, we can get through Brexit, it's supposed to be better. Imagine cheerleading something by saying, it's going to be a bit like the bubonic plague, and it's entirely optional, but we're going to do it. We're going to infect the population, and we will probably survive. Way! Stick that on the side of a bus, you lovely people. Mark's in Nottingham. Mark, there's money on the table, it's yours. Hang on a minute, Mark. Wait, have we tried that guy again? Mister, I can't wait until you come on, mate. Come on, Snowflakey. Give us a ring. Put your money where your mouth is. You pathetic little clown, sending your little texts from your mum's back bedroom in your dirty bathrobe on your Tesco laptop. Where are you, man? Come on. You say all these people who say, oh, you don't let anyone on who disagrees with you. There's another one there as well. Can I give you this number as well? Give this guy a ring as well. Another one saying that they don't let anyone in if you agree with them. We're ringing you, and you're not answering your phone. Oh, please let me give out the phone number. Why not? Data protection. Mark's in Nottingham. Mark, there's money on the table. It's yours if you want it.
Morning, James.
Hello, Mark.
You'll be pleased to know your daughter's done the money for tomorrow's safe.
Go on.
But the point I'd like to make is that I voted to remain, you'll be pleased to hear. But after the result, I was one of these people saying, OK, we voted to leave. Let's get on with it, negotiate, and sort.
Show us what it's going to look like, and then we can start pulling together to make the best of what I thought and you thought would be a bad lot, but at least we can all pull together to do it.
Exactly, and and I think month after month, I think a lot of people are now thinking, surely the government and the EU are negotiating secretly, and then
Yeah, I thought that. I thought there must be something that we can't see. They must know, simply by dint of being in that office, or because it's the Emperor's New Clothes again. I kept thinking there must be something there. There must be something there.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing as well, and I think, and I read a document, and it was probably sometime last year, and it was the EU rules around the free movement of people.
Yeah, Citizens Charter Article 2.
And I read it, and I thought, what was it all about? Why are all these people complaining about EU migration when actually, if the government, because to be honest, it was our own fault. I think, I don't know whether it came in under the Treaty of Rome or the Treaty of Lisbon or whatever, but when you actually look at the rules, they're actually quite strict.
Yeah. It's optional to impose them, but the EU sets the parameters within which those rules can be imposed.
Exactly. But the British government have never really imposed those rules.
Well, they can't, can they? Because you've got the editor of the Daily Mail blaming immigration for everything, and they love that because it lets them off the hook.
Exactly, but also our borders for many years have been so open, and we've never checked people coming in and out. They could never impose them anyway because we never kept a track on people.
Costs more than it would save.
Exactly. So, ultimately, I'm getting to the point of being speechless and thinking, what the hell are they doing?
Lewis Goodall at Sky has just tweeted, the Prime Minister's spokesman says they are confident Davis will still be in place by the end of the day. We expect proposals on backstop to be published this afternoon. A fire put out, but make no mistake, there was a fire, and Lewis, who's one of my favourite commentators, concludes an ill wind blows. When did that ill wind hit you? When did you realise that I would say that for normal people who voted Remain, your position is the most plausible. After it happened, you thought, oh, well, that seems like a mistake. Let's see what's going to happen now and start all pulling together. When did you realise that was delusional?
You know what? I think it's just been creeping up.
Yeah.
I think it's been creeping up. Obviously, we got the agreement at Christmas, and then it was, for until March, and then But now, the other side of it is you're listening to the likes of Corbyn and his Brexit shadow secretary, and they're saying we want to be part of the customs union, but we want to be able to negotiate trade agreements with other countries.
Yeah.
Are you real?
No.
Do you understand what a...
But he didn't understand on day one. He didn't understand on day one when he said the day after Brexit will be in Berlin, not Brussels, not understanding that you can't negotiate with individual European Union member countries. Even Donald Trump understood that after Angela Merkel had explained it to him 13 times.
Yeah, and I agree with you, you know, and the thing is you think, well, what's the answer? You've got Theresa May, who, to be perfectly honest, she's as good a Prime Minister as she was a Home Secretary, so obviously not very good. Who can replace her? I don't see anybody. Who can replace the government as a Prime Minister on the other side? I can't see anybody. And I've never known a time when there's been such a dearth of political talent of leading this country.
I suppose that is the only context in which Jacob Rees-Mogg could look anything other than a pantomime toff who's on secondment from the Beano. It's only against the backdrop of what you've just described that he looks... Oh, I don't know, because it's the... Do you understand deference, Mark? Do you understand this forelock tugging thing that I never really knew existed on this scale in this country? The idea, because my mum and dad were very careful with us to tell us that we were as good as anyone else, and there was none of that know your place, and my dad slaved to send me to a posh school so that I could, stand alongside anyone, however big their silver spoon was, and feel entitled and equal. And yet the country is full of people who would quite happily go back to a kind of 19th century model.
No, I don't. But when you actually consider it, though, you think about the French Revolution and what was happening in the UK at the same time. The French had a revolution. We had militias who went round beating anybody up who even thought about a revolution. Back in the 19th century, when the landowners and the owners of the mills had control of militias. Which was probably why we still have that deference. That's a combination of gratitude and fear. Exactly, and the other thing as well is that when it comes to deference, from a personal point of view, I don't believe in that at all. I think everybody's born equal. What position you hold in life is, should be down to what ability and what commitment you make and your ability. Nothing to do with how you were born and what school you went to.
No, I hear you. I completely agree with you, obviously, but it still baffles me that so many British people think that patriotism involves doffing cap and tugging forelock and going down on one knee in front of people born into immense and utterly unjustified privilege. 11:48 is the time. No one's ringing me, I'm afraid, so I'll read another couple of texts from these cretins. Didn't the editor of the Daily Mail employ your dad and therefore pay towards your sumptuous education, which was rewarded by the seat where you currently park your privileged body? No, mate. Dad was on the Telegraph, but, try again. Oh, you don't let anyone on who disagrees. We are literally ringing every texter now. Every negative, rude texter saying, come on, seriously, stop saying you're not allowed on. Come on, fill your boots, land a punch, take him down. Losers.
James O'Brien on LBC.
11:52 is the time. My goodness me, we'll be ready for Mystery Hour in 7 or 8 minutes' time. Your weekly opportunity to get the sort of satisfaction not ordinarily available anywhere else on your radio. I guess in the absence of people prepared to have a crack at telling me what I've got wrong today, we need to look at a few more texts. Having read about open skies, says Joe, I've reached the conclusion that there's no point in Heathrow building a third runway because there won't be enough flights for everyone to go on their holidays. Look, that is a genuine negotiation with America, and at the moment America's negotiators have said that there's no earthly way that we will be able to have an arrangement with them that is as good as the one we've currently got as members of the European Union. That seems pretty straightforward. It's a 600 million member market versus a 60 or 500 million member market versus a 60 million market. I don't know how that's going to unfold, actually. 03456060973 is the number that you do. I'm tempted. I'm not going to call off Mystery Hour, but we're not getting any pickup from all of these people texting in with their abuse and their claims that they can't get on. I mean, I don't know quite what to do now. It's become a little bit embarrassing. I thought at least one of them might come bang their head against the studio wall. There's money here. Anyone can tell me what I got wrong about the discussion, the description of what's going on with regard to David Davis, the Irish border, the Good Friday Agreement, and the European Union negotiators? All I can see is the claim that we have to make them believe that we're going to walk away. You speak to anybody in any European Union member country, and they find that to be the maddest thing of all the mad things that have come out of this country in the last couple of years. So you think you're going to make us blink by threatening to hit yourself even harder than you already are? Yeah, that is the logic. 11:54 is the time. Let's have a word with Charles in Leeds. Charles, are you here to take my money?
Hello. Yes, I think actually you're looking at the whole global economic situation completely wrong.
I haven't mentioned it.
Well, no, but, you know...
We're talking about the Irish border and David Davis.
Brexit is going to be an apocalyptic disaster.
No, it's just going to be worse than what we've currently got. But we're talking about the Irish border and David Davis today. What do you think is going on?
Well, I think David Davis is a moron.
Oh. Well, I'm afraid I'm keeping my wallet in my pocket at this point, Charles.
And Theresa May is incompetent. But
there is something that would be brilliant. We just don't know what it is yet.
With the Irish border, Ireland do not want a border. Northern Ireland do not want a border. If we don't put a border in, the Republic of Ireland would have to, or the EU would have to.
Only if there were different regulatory arrangements and trading arrangements on both sides.
Let's assume there were.
Well, why? Why would we assume that? The backstop says there won't be. The backstop moves the border to the Irish Sea. You know all this.
Yes, but the backstop that they're currently saying will run out, which would, as you say, or you think would inevitably lead to a hard border.
No, they'll just the backstop has to be there until they come up with the solution. And if they had a solution, they wouldn't need the backstop.
Yes, but this David Davis thing is specifically over not having a time limit.
Yes, which you can't have, because you can't say to people that it will end on day X unless you can tell them what is going to happen on day Y.
Well, let's assume they do, just for a moment.
No, because that's unicornist, mate.
No, because if you don't look at what would happen, which you think would be a hard border eventually, a hard border, most people agree, would bring back troubles in Northern Ireland, which would also spill over into the Republic. So why would the Republic, against their own interests, want to build a hard border with...
They don't want to build a hard border, but under the terms of European Union membership, they would have to. Because you cannot have no checks between two customs unions. Otherwise, there's no point being in a customs union or in a free trade agreement.
Well, you don't specifically have to have physical checks, though.
You specifically do.
Why? Why do you have to?
Well, so that you can make sure that anybody who is importing into your market is obeying your regulatory alignments and paying the correct taxes and tariffs.
Yes, and everything coming outside the European Union would be doing that. We already have...
We would be outside the European Union.
We would be outside the European Union, but it doesn't mean that they don't have to accept our regulations.
Of course it does. Of course. I mean, did you see the thing yesterday from the car industries in Germany?
We accept...
they won't be allowed to sell anything under the European Union single market that contains anything made in Britain if we crash out without a trade agreement, Charles.
Well, so how do we sell anything to anyone in the world who we don't have an agreement with?
Well, we generally don't. We have trade agreements with a huge number of countries, from, sending whelks to South Korea as European Union members. I think, is it 57 separate trade agreements?
Well, is China not one of the places where we
can sell stuff to China, but there's stuff that we can't sell to China. And if we sell stuff to China, it gets checked a lot more rigorously than the stuff that we sell to, for example, France, which doesn't get checked at all.
Into the EU as well.
China's very far away. If you're suggesting to a small business in this, well, no, we're talking about the Irish border and David Davis, but you insist on kind of not doing that. So I'm trying to indulge you a little bit out of politeness.
No, I'm just saying, this is one issue in Brexit, which isn't...
No, it's the issue. It's the issue in Brexit. It's the closest that the Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, you heard the news a moment ago, has come close to resigning. Theresa May has been sort of reduced to announcing that she thinks he'll still be in a job this evening. It's not just one aspect of Brexit. This is the thread which, when tugged, pulls everything apart. Briefly, and please don't take this in the wrong way, give me a reason to be cheerful.
Well, there's big world out there that we could be trading with. You know, look at South America. Some of those countries
We
are
already
really,
do trade with these countries.
well, we don't have a lot of trade deals with a lot of South American countries.
So you think that we
and we
will
don't
be
have the
better off
ability.
trading with Peru and Mexico than with the largest single market in the world?
Well, I'm saying in the long term with
It's not a
projected
reason to be
growth-
cheerful, is it?
with projected growth, yes.
Projected growth. Okay. Have a great day, Charles. Hold your children close this evening and prepare them for the misery that you're inflicting on their future with your bovine, blinkered, bonkers positioning. And I don't hold you responsible for it. I will always hold responsible the people that have led you down this ludicrous path. God bless.
On your radio, on your phone, and here.
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.